3, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Over. 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 Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Over. Over. This is Stan Tinsley speaking. Today, which is the 29th day of May, 1991, I'm speaking with Mr. Howard Ownby of 6420 Shetland Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee, in regard to his experiences in World War II. There we go. I don't know what it was. When did you join the service? I've got a heading in here that gives your name and address and dates already in there.
I joined in July 1944.
July 44.
Right.
Okay. Did you volunteer?
No, I was drafted through the, selective service.
Right.
I did not to. I was married at the time, and I said, well, I'm not going to volunteer, but of course when I'm called, I'm ready to go.
Sure. I understand that. What good branch of the service did you finally end up in or drafted?
Well, I was placed in the infantry.
Okay. When you left home, how old were you?
Well, I was 26 when I was drafted.
You were drafted, I guess, yeah. That's
Well, I'm sorry, 25.
Okay. Was anybody else in your family in the service?
No, sir.
Okay.
Not at that time. They were following later.
I see. Okay. Describe the places where you trained here in this country and where you went from here to there and so forth. As the whole, so get the whole picture of what happened to you here in the States.
Well, when I received my notice, it was to report to in Fort Oglethorpe,
yeah.
Georgia, for
Right.
induction. And of course, I was examined there and sent to Atlanta to. Can't remember the camp there. Or stationed there. But then I was actually placed in Camp Wheeler, Georgia, in the infantry.
Right.
Of course, we were processed through the office in Atlanta and assigned to companies.
Okay.
There's an infantry camp at Camp Wheeler.
What kind of training did they have you doing there at Camp Wheeler? What did they have you doing?
Well, we went through the basic instructions on infantry operations and the equipment and how to use it and how to take care of it. And actually had field trips.
For some of those 15-mile marches?
Yes, sir.
Hey, boy. Okay. How long were you there at that camp? Just approximately.
Yeah, I was there 16 weeks.
Right. And then, what did you think of the training? Was it pretty good? Pretty bad?
It was. I think it was good training for the infantry.
And then where did you go to next?
From there, they gave us a 10-day furlough and reported to Fort Meade, Maryland on Christmas Day of '44. I thought of all things, looked like I'd wait another day, but had to be there by noon on Christmas Day, '44.
Yeah,
and they processed us there, went through all of our records and questions and what have you. And I was shipped from there to just a holding base, and I don't remember. I wasn't out of the base, so I don't know really where it was, other than we traveled at night. And then I came back to New York and shipped out on January the 2nd, '45, on a troop ship.
January 2nd, '45. You know what ship you went over on? Remember the name of it?
No, I don't remember the name, but it was one of the largest troop carriers. I think there was about 30 or about 30,000 soldiers on it beside the crew, and there's probably 3 or 4,000 of them. A couple thousand anyway.
How long did it take you to get across the ocean?
We were about 10 days crossing.
Y'all have any submarine alerts or anything?
No, we were in a convoy, and I think one time they said there might be, but it didn't. If there was, it didn't cause any damage. But we were in a large convoy. Of course, that.
Okay, now what unit, at this time, what unit were you part of?
Well, still, I didn't go as a unit. At this time, I still was assigned to a unit after got to.
Okay.
When you want me to go ahead with the?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, when we landed, we were. I don't know whether this was prearranged or whether I guess all of us or Abraham, they probably needed a certain number of men to go to a certain base, for processing further. So I was on a travel by boxcar there from. I landed at. My memories on France, and we traveled by train. Well, one day and night, and part of the second day, and we're somewhere, and I don't know the name of the town, in Belgium. And there we were, because we weren't out. We were just there in the weather was bad, and snow on the ground. We were just there for processing, and we were there 3 or 4 days. And I guess that's when they did what unit each individual would be assigned to.
Right.
And so one night we shipped out of there by truckloads of us, and we traveled several hours, and were eventually reached our destination, which was somewhere in a forest, and they had tents set up that that would hold about 6 men with cots. It was one of those larger tents. But they just set it up in the snow, and the snow was still inside it almost touched the bottom of the cot. It was so deep. They just set the cots up in the snow.
Wow. And where were you then? What outfit were you?
Well, then from that point, I guess that's where I was actually assigned to a company, or we were shipped from that. That was I ended up with infantry company, 331st Infantry, Company E, and that was about 2 or 3 moves from point to point from where I first described to another holding stage where we stayed a couple of 3 days and waiting, and then when we actually reached the company we were assigned to, they had great losses in the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah.
And that's what I actually went in as a replacement for the Battle of the Bulge. I think this company, if there was at least 8 or 9 of us that were replacements to a squad of 12.
Good gosh.
In the squad I was in, at least. Now, I don't know whether that was true for the whole company or not, but the squad I was in, there was at least 8 replacements for a man squad, so you can tell the losses they had in the battle. And we stayed in that area a couple of weeks, I guess, and moved to another location and stayed 3 or 4 days. So, we of course moved by truck, and we went through Aachen, Germany, and then when we actually got closer to the front, when they decided to put this company or this regiment or division back into operation, we were scheduled to the unit was to try to secure the bridges across the Rhine River to Düsseldorf. And we were actually spearheading to that point. And we moved in there. Well, I was captured then on March 2nd, which was about my second or third day actually in the combat.
Before we talk about that, what did you think of the men and the officers of this company you were assigned to, the squad and company?
Well, really, I had very little contact with them, other than just
you didn't have time to get to know them?
I didn't really have time to get to know them, other than just the people in the squad I was in.
Okay.
I had I guess, an unusual attitude. I just, I wasn't defensive, but I mean, offensive to what we were doing, because I knew it had to be done.
Yeah.
And but I thought sometimes they did go about it in a peculiar way, but I don't know how to describe that. But I know one time they gave us some field while it was in one of these holding areas. Said, we've got a new procedure that they've worked out on when you come in contact with a sniper or where a defense is set up, and they call it, and they took us out on the hillside and demonstrated it to us by showing us how. Said when you're pinned down, say by a sniper, for instance, said everybody hits the ground, and then you line up abreast at a little distance between each one, and on orders, command orders, everybody just stands up and marches up the hill, or whatever the conditions are. In this case, it was up a hill, or march towards, and they were, of course, a machine gun or sniper was usually set up on the high point.
Yeah.
So you'd march toward that. Everybody's just marching and firing as you walk. And with that fire was supposed to keep him down.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that'll either get us captured or killed. I don't know which will come first.
Yeah.
But it got us captured.
Captured.
And
What, actually, give me the circumstances that day that you were captured, from the day breakfast on as to what happened.
well, I'll have to start that before.
Okay. Fine.
Because we were, of course, the day before we'd been in combat, clearing out a village, and we were housed in a city. We just is actually in a home. The Germans had moved out. They'd cleared the city of their people, so we just spent the night in a house with our guards out. And the next morning, I don't know what time we left, but it must have been 3 o'clock, something real early, hours before daylight. And we let's see, we at this point we they moved us by truck, and we moved to another city, which was just across the city, Neuss, 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 Germany. And they had just some of the other units had just taken it the day before, and were holding it. And we moved in there, and from there we were spearheading bridge, one of the bridges. There was 3 bridges across the river from this side, from at that point across to Düsseldorf. And you want to go into what we did there?
Yeah, I'd like you to.
Okay, we arrived there, and of course, soon after we got, there was a canal came around between. There was a high ground there, which the road was on that led to the bridge, and a factory building up on the hill, top of the hill, and of course around it and that's we were trying to reach that bridge to secure it, and we had to wade through a canal at the hill, and just beyond that, just beside the canal, was a railroad track, which is of course elevated. And about the time we got near the canal, was a sniper started firing on us, and of course we waded through the canal and hit the ground beside the railroad track, and then we got the order to march and fire that I described to you. So we went up this hill, marching and firing, and we crossed an entanglement of barbed wire that crawled through it that they had, to protect, and then they had behind it they had a trench where they could go around from one point to the other. So we crossed the barbed wire in the trench, and beyond that were these factory buildings. The other side of that was the highway and the bridge, road across the bridge. And of course, when we got into this building, part of us, and about the time we got there, they started throwing mortar shells across the river into the building. And of course, the top, it was just a shell of the building anyway. Most of it had been blown off, and our company commander, I guess, thought we were. Anyway, he gave the orders for us to surrender. There was 35 or 6 of us that were captured there.
Did you lose any people, or have any people wounded walking up that hill and exposed to that fire that you know of?
We didn't. I don't think we had any. We didn't lose any, but there were some that got real close calls. But not. One man was. Of course, he had his rifle up in shooting position, and it just grazed his wrist. Just broke the skin right across his wrist like that, and went on through, and burned the skin across his chest, and went in his vest or field jacket, and came out the other side. And another fellow got about the same kind of shot across the back. It just above the belt line, or about the belt line, just sort of broke the skin or burnt. If it had been an inch over, it probably cut his
just lucky you didn't lose 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
Well, that's about what? I don't know. How long did that? Wonder. Well, that's an order like that. I swear. That's tough when I hate to have to do that. That sounds kind of like they did it in the old days.
Yeah.
Firing and walking and marching all the time.
Like they did back in the Civil War. If you just had one shot, if you missed it, you had to use your bayonet.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's see. Now, you surrendered what day and where?
Well, that was on March the 2nd. It was early, just good daylight, probably, and at that time of year, probably 7 o'clock. I'm not sure of the time. But
do you feel like your company commander made the right decision? Okay.
I believe he probably, because they had it well fortified, and we knew they were. I didn't, but the people. They knew they would try to blow it up before they lost it, and that was a sort of a surprise attack to take it before they blew it up was the object. And of course, I walked across the bridge with my hands over my head, but our whole group did.
Is that right?
And later that day, we spent the day in Düsseldorf in the middle of a building, and during that day we heard the bridge go up, blown. They did blow the bridge. The Germans did.
Yeah. From the beginning on, how did the Germans treat you? Were they reasonable, extremely threatening, or what?
Well, not. I don't think we're extremely threatening. Of course, you never knew what might happen.
Yeah.
What someone might do on his own. So they knew they wouldn't be punished for it, whatever they did.
Yeah.
But the other conditions you may want to get into later about after we reach the camp and so forth. But the guards in that area, say from the time we were captured, they didn't try to mistreat us or anything, but they just, as long as we cooperated. Of course, we were just housed in the basement that first day, and that night they loaded us on a train. We were on a train all night, traveling.
I see.
And that's what they were holding us there for at night that day. So they.
Right. Where did you end up?
We went from there by train to Limburg, Germany, and their Stalag 12A prison camp. That was at Limburg, and we arrived in there on the Saturday, I think, and stayed. Then on Monday they interrogated us, and that first 2 nights, of course, the camp that building was the worst. It just there was nothing in the building but just a dirt. I don't know. I started to say dirt, but just straw on the floor. Didn't have any bedding or. They gave us a blanket each, but and that was in second of March, or so.
Cold.
Pretty cold. Just sleeping on the floor or ground. Of course, our roof was leaking. But then on Monday they interrogated us, took us to out of the camp to downtown to a building and kept us in there, and that was some experience there.
Yeah, tell me about that. I was.
Well, there was about in the group I was taken in, there was about 20 of us, and of course, I can tell you what just be sure it's going into this. I was one of the first that was called out to. They just guard came and asked for volunteer, and I was reasonably close to the door, and nobody made any effort. So I said, "Well, I might as well be first." So I went with him, and of course the interrogation officer, and we were instructed to said, "Do not lie to them; you'll get in trouble." But the only thing we were supposed to answer was name, rank, and serial number to any question.
Yeah.
But we were instructed to salute the officer when we were taken in, just show him the courtesy, I guess, of this rank. But anyway, and the guard warned me, officer, and he saluted, and of course I saluted him. And of course he started questioning then about, he asked all kinds of questions, but when you get tired of saying Howard L. Ownby, 34, 937, 682, you did have an option of saying, "I'm sorry, sir," if you didn't want to repeat the name, rank, and serial number. So I'd do part one time and switch back and forth. And he told us that if he was there to identify us as American soldiers and not spies, that was their approach. And you know what they do to spies.
Yeah.
He told me that, warned me of what they do to spies. And that was his lead into questioning. And he said, if you don't answer, if I don't get the information at this time, or this might, he went through a series of questions. I don't know about where I was from, where I lived, and training, and family, and things just in general, to try to get you answering, It wasn't asking military questions or just to get you started. So I just started off from the beginning with my name, rank, and serial number, because if you ever that's the wrong thing to start any questions.
Yeah.
So he said, well, if you don't, after he was for quite a while, I don't know what period, how long it took, but he said you'll stand in the court outside, and he had me pull off my jacket, helmet, and everything down to my shirt sleeves. And said you'll stand outside at attention, and I mean German attention, which is with your arms extended, full stiff, not relaxed, even to your fingers being. You had to stand at very rigid attention. Said you'll stand there for 1 hour, and we'll bring you back in for a second chance to cooperate with us. Said if you don't go in, you'll go out for another hour. And said after that, the third time you go out, said you'll stand out there till you ask to be brought back in. So I stood out there on the 2 1-hour periods, and the last time I was there about 6 hours. But I didn't ask to go in. They finally, them getting near dark, and they decided to take us back in and get rid of us for the night. So after standing at attention for 8 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour twice, and then 6 hours, and the guards would come around and see that you did stand at attention, but we'd relax every chance we got. And so...
Boy, that 6 hours was a long haul, wasn't it? Standing there in your shirt sleeves.
But the guy did, when he called me in the last time, of course, this officer that had been doing the interrogation didn't talk with me, and then someone else did. And he told us what would happen from there on, what we'd be doing. So we spent the night in that building, and the next day they took us back to the barracks, a different one than we were in the first 2 nights.
How was the food?
Well, of course, like the day I just described, and the day we were captured, there was no food.
Is that right?
Yeah, and we didn't have it. Well, yeah, they gave us maybe just a little something that night, but we didn't have any food for just like a loaf of bread for 6 people or something. Yeah. And so in camp, though, after the interrogation, we were divided up into groups of 6, and I selected to draw the rations for my group, which was in the morning. We would receive a loaf of bread, which was what we used to call a nickel a loaf or a dime loaf, a little round, hard, short roll of bread, and of course it was unwrapped, and we got about a 1/4 pound stick of margarine, and that was our morning meal. And that was just in one loaf. I had divided up. I did smuggle my pocket knife in, which I wasn't supposed to, but I still had it, and so I cut the bread up in 6 equal parts as near as possible, and the butter, and each one had each of our group. But it didn't take but a few days till everybody wanted first chance at their piece. Because you can imagine trying to cut a loaf of bread in 6 equal parts with a pocket knife. Yeah. So I said, fellas, we can't have any ill feelings with our own group. So I said, start here and number all, 1 through 6. And we did. And I said, okay, number 1, we'll draw our bread in that order. By numerical order. Number 1, first day, number 1 will start. Second day, number 2 will have first chance. Third day, number 3, and we'll just rotate and draw each man. I said, there's no way for me to pull it, but I do the best I can. Yeah. But to avoid any misfeelings. Right. But that's all we got. And we got the bread and butter or margarine and a cup of coffee of morning. And in the late afternoon, we generally got a cup of soup, which was, we called it rutabaga soup, regular soup, and it was 90% just juice or water. The foods, there wouldn't be 2 or 3 bites of solid food in it, like potatoes or whatever. They made it turnips and so we got soup and bread and no, we didn't get any more bread. Just got the soup in there. That's just like a little pint cup. We had to keep these cups with us and their spoon. And of course they didn't furnish any. We did have some water there in a washroom, but one time the Air Force knocked out the water supply, and we were out of water for 5 days. And we didn't even have a way to wash our cups we ate out of for that period of time.
Let's see. How many days were you? Did you stay in that camp now till how long?
Well, I was. That's really the only camp I was in. I was there about 3 weeks in that camp, and then they moved us out. Just part of us, I don't know. But one night, the group in the barracks I was in, they called us out just before dark. They always moved at night because of the bombers, knocking their airlines out, or their railroads out. So they loaded us on boxcars. There was 16 car loads of us, 50 men to a car. And that's just about the size of the size of their boxcars was. That 50 men was just close shoulder to shoulder on the perimeter of the car. So you can imagine when you tried to sit down, you could sit down or lay down or something. Laying down was a problem.
Yeah, I see.
Because the feet would overlap, and especially at the ends of the car. But just about a sitting position or standing position, that was maybe a little more slack at the door, but not very little. So we spent 7 or 8 days in that boxcar, and they gave us.
Were you traveling all the time?
No, we traveled that first night, and the first day. Then we were in a tunnel. They left us in a tunnel all day. So of course we felt safe in there too.
Yeah, sure.
But of course we was in the darkness that night all day. You could see enough, just see that there was an end of the tunnel, just enough light to know we were in the tunnel. And then, of course, the next night, so we were in the dark 2 nights and a day in darkness. And, of course, they didn't, in that period of time, we didn't have any food, water, or anything other than what we had. Now, they did give us this ration, C ration, K ration, what was they called it? C ration. Anyway, K ration, which was supposed to be enough food just for a survival kit for 5 days for one person. Well, we spent 7 days in that car, and we would have had equivalent to, when we divided it up, about a 3-day survival kit per person. And we had 7 days, 7 or 8 days in there.
When you say K ration or C ration, was it American K ration?
Like didn't the Red Cross handle those?
I guess they did. I don't know much about that.
Well, they dropped them too for people that's in the jungle. They dropped them a parachute and things of that nature. But that was all the food we had during that time. But after that second day, the second day we sat just on the railroad track out in the open beside a little creek or something. And some trees along there, but it was just outside of one of the little towns. I don't know what. But then the next day they parked us they did it in the night. The third night they pulled us into an area where they just left us the balance of the time parked in a just out in the open. But we understood, and someone, I don't know how they just assumed it or might have seen them doing it, but they had POW marked on top of the cars and just parked on the siding somewhere.
I see.
So we just sit there in the open about 3 more days like that. So we was in the car about 7 days.
Where were they taking you to?
Now some of the people was moved out a day or two before, maybe a couple of days before we were. They'd moved them on back to another camp farther back, and I saw one of them later, and he is a prisoner almost a month longer than I was.
Well, they were taking you now from...
Well, they're just trying to move us from this camp to get us farther back in Germany.
Is that
because the front line was getting closer to the area where we were. And after they I guess they didn't want us to be liberated from those cars, or I don't know why. They moved us into a little village, and we had to walk that. So we was on the road about most of the day, but of course we weren't moving all the time. We'd move a little, and they'd stop us. But we walked into a little town, Hattenrad, Germany. I'd say it's probably about somewhere 75 to 100. Well, not there wouldn't be 100 miles, I don't think. Approximately 75 miles, sort of northeast of Frankfurt. Maybe 100 miles from Frankfurt, but yeah, because Limburg was it was about 50 miles sort of northwest of Frankfurt on the river. And this was east of it, about 50 miles east of it. And we spent a couple nights there, and we were liberated by the 6th Armored Division.
Okay. On what date?
It was on March the 29th.
Okay, so you were a prisoner from...
March the 2nd to 29th of 45.
2nd through the 29th
Mm-hmm.
of 1945. Well, it could have been worse, I guess, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could have been.
Some of those guys, I guess some of those Air Force guys have been held since 43.
Oh, yeah, a lot of them were 5 years.
Good gosh. That's been hard to tell.
Yeah, I realized that I was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, if it had to happen.
If it had to happen, yeah.
What happens, when you are liberated? What do they do with you? What, do they send you to some center or something?
No, we were just, of course, I don't know if, I think this happened in the camps where they liberated, there was thousands in this camp at Stalag 12A. I think they would just, the guards would just stay on the gate until, say, the American forces arrived, and they just were there. And then you were just free. I mean, just whatever you and the Americans told you to do at that point.
Yeah.
But see, we were in this little village, and the Germans, when I guess they had instructions, I guess, to surrender when our troops came in, but the 6th pulled in, and they didn't resist them, and they just came in, and of course we were just free. The gates, the doors were, the gates were open. We were just in. The nights we spent there, we were just sleeping in barns,
Well, how do you know what to do to get, you can do anything you want to do, but how do you know what to do?
Well, like this, of course, they told us when they came in, the 6th Armored, they had trucks following in on, they knew we were there, and so they had trucks coming in, following the tanks in, and there's someone told us to, probably in the tank told us to not just stay in the area, and would be picked up and taken back, and so we just stayed in the village there until all of fact of the matter, I spent that night as sometime in the morning when we were delivered, maybe up toward noon. I don't remember the time of day, but then I spent another night there because people that were sick and had been sick a long time or wounded or something, they asked to let them go first.
Yeah, I see.
And so they took them back to the hospital and sent trucks back for the rest of us. So there's probably half of us or more spent another night in that village after we were. And we knew not to wander off because somebody would know, and you could get shot just by an individual.
Yeah.
But,
they brought food and everything in there.
yeah, they brought food to us, and well, the Germans cooked us a good meal that day too.
I bet they did. Okay, well, let's see now. When did you leave to come back to the States? When do you remember?
Yeah, that was on. Let's see. Yeah, okay. That was about on Good Friday. I was liberated. And I think I was liberated on Thursday, the day before Good Friday. And they took us back to a hospital area, just a field hospital they'd set up in but it's actually in a hospital, I guess one of their hospital buildings or something. It wasn't just tents, but they took us back and examined us and checked us out and gave us some clothing and a chance to take a shower, which we hadn't had in my case 30 days. But then, of course, the ones that were wounded or sick, they shipped a bunch of those, flew them out of there at this point. I don't know where this was located really, because I was just there 1 or 2 nights, probably 2 nights. They flew a lot of them from there to England, and a couple of my buddies that were they were sick when we got back to that hospital. They kept them in the hospital area, and they were running a high temperature. And so I was separated from about the only 2 buddies I'd had a chance to make in the whole time. And I was just with them from the time I was signed there to the company till I was liberated. And they to England, and I went back to another field hospital, and they shipped me back to France, the hospital in France.
I see. Was anything wrong with you? Other than just being
no,
without food? And
just I'd lost about 20 pounds in that period of time.
Yeah, I guess you did.
But no, they just sent us back there to check us out, and while I was there, though, I don't know, they were holding us there to, I guess, waiting for instructions what to do with us. I don't think they knew what to do with us at that point in time.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was there. I was probably there 3 weeks. But after 2 or 3, about the 2nd or 3rd day, I started running a temperature, and I was in bed several days with that. I mean, I didn't feel all that bad, but I just had a temperature, and the doctor kept asking me if I'd ever had malaria. And he'd ask me that almost every day, and I said, no, never did. And so finally it went away. And
what was the matter with your buddy? How had to run a high fever? Did you know what was the matter with him?
No.
I guess it could be.
And
let's see.
From there, they shipped me. Let's see, that was Barley Duke, France. And they shipped us on back to a base just out on in the suburbs of Paris. So I was in Paris on VE night. So, boy, the streets, I mean, people were just with their arms around each other.